All right. No Doubt About It podcast. It's blowing up in L.A. right now.
Well, yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's ridiculous in L.A. I'm so glad I'm not in California today. I'll tell you that, or this weekend.
Well, we are going to get to it, and we'll explain why I think it's being made worse by our leaders who are doing everything they can instead of trying to, bring everybody together on this and try to create some sense of a path forward, just throwing lighter fluid on everything.
Right. There's no sense of calming it down.
Oh, no, there's no doubt about that. So we'll get to that. And we're also going to get to a couple other things. New polling data's out. We'll talk about that. Brago Garcia, the Maryland man, is getting his wish. He's coming back.
He's coming back, everybody. But how long will he last?
Well, it's the thing. It was a significant mistake. It was interesting to read some of the legal opinion on this from lawyers who were like, his lawyers absolutely destroyed him. Because of the way they handled this. So we'll see how that ends up happening. Simone Biles jumps out, decides she wants to get into the whole men and women's sports fight, and it turned out to be a spicy one. Let's just say that. And then we got a couple other key things. The way you travel in your car is going to be changing, and a visitor to a Thai grocery store that you have to see to believe.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, yeah, and it is smoking hot here, by the way.
It is warm.
mean, is it gonna cool off at all?
It is. Actually, Monday and Tuesday got another chance for more rain on the way. So we are going to get wet again. Okay. It looks like, especially over mountain sections, but it looks like some decent moisture across the state again. We have dodged a major bullet this spring. There's no question. So we're getting ready to hit summer here. And usually May, June, those are our worst fire months, even into some of July. So far, we have done very well for moisture and escaped major, major problems to this point.
Well, I just need to escape some of the heat because I do a lot of walking and I'm doing my weighted vest now.
Yeah, the weighted vest is just seems like a first world thing. Like, I don't have enough problems. Put a weighted vest on me. And the one thing I will say, by the way, next week, next Sunday, Monday, could hit 100 in Albuquerque, though.
There's no weighted vest when it's 100 degrees.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Like,
no, I mean, look, you bought the weighted vest. You got to wear it.
Well, I don't know not in the heat. I don't. That's what I decided. I'm like, I'm not carrying this bag of potatoes on me when it's
by the way, why not just carry a bag of potatoes? You don't need to go buy some weighted vest from Amazon. They cost $70 to send it to you.
It's not $70, by the way. I don't buy anything on Amazon for $70.
Just go get a jug of water on Amazon. I mean, what are you trying to do here?
And just get a piece of rope and tie it around my waist?
Yes.
I mean, no, it's like listen. If you're a middle-aged woman now, apparently you need to drink creatine, eat 1,000 million calories of protein, and wear a weighted vest when you walk in 100-degree temperatures.
That's right.
Those are the rules.
That's the new.
It's basically a full-time job to be a middle-aged woman. Just to stay middle-aged.
Heck yeah, it is.
I guess that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's great. It's
it's
what
great.
a
All right, it's quite a trend. So
I
might be donating that weighted vest.
Or just go old school and get the old ankle weights that they used to strap those on and walk around with those things.
I had the weighted because I think you need the compounded. I'm still trying to figure out why I'm wearing a weighted vest. By the way,
it would appear to be more evenly distributed than the old ankle.
Yeah,
weights.
I'm still trying to figure it out though because it's not getting my heart rate up any higher than it normally does. So
go for a run with it.
Well, I could. I could just go for a run without the weighted vest.
You could do that too. Again, you're making my point, not yours. So, all right. So let's go ahead and get to a couple quick emails.
Okay, so a couple quick emails coming in. We basically blew up with Bigfoot last week. Your Bigfoot story.
Yeah.
We had so many comments. I was like, okay, I'll just pick a couple here. But Resi says, you city folks are a hoot. We've known about Bigfoot quite a while, I think is what they're saying. Of course, we'll never get a picture, I think is what they're talking about, because we're too slow at trying to take their pictures.
No, that's probably true. I mean, that's a good point. Plus, in and out of the portal. Yeah. In and out of the portal and the wormhole. You're not going to get a picture of them.
Oh, my gosh.
That's how it works.
I want people to know that you don't actually believe that.
You can't prove that.
I mean, people are writing saying, does Mark really believe there's a wormhole of travel for Bigfoot?
Well, how else do you explain it?
A guy in a gorilla suit, for crying out loud, Mark.
Okay, well.
Seriously.
All right.
Okay, Susan wrote in and said, I would like to hear more about your experiences running for office. We did talk quite a bit about our
and we'll bring that in when it's appropriate at different times, Susan. So that's what we try to do is like if it is something that applies to what we're talking about and we can add something in, we will. I don't like just talking about it for no reason. It's like some trauma response from me. I'm like, oh my God. But
we've shared a lot of stories over the time. And honestly, like I think it's like episode 2 or 4 or 5. It's under 10. It's early days. We went into a lot of detail about your campaign.
Yeah, and
So if they wanna go back and
especially
listen.
as we get into election season and next year and everything else, we will definitely add things in here and there that I think can be helpful. It's funny because when you listen to a lot of people who haven't lived it before and don't know that there are just certain rules that apply. There's certain forces of gravity in politics that don't appear to be easily grasped just from the surface. Like if you're just
I had no
surfacely
idea.
looking at things, me too. I mean, I
had no
would have
idea
known
until
either.
you ran, so.
Absolutely. And then you start realizing some of the things that happen and you're like, oh, then you realize where some of the rules are. And then you talk to certain people and you realize they know a lot about these sorts of things. And we try to bring those people on to you. Jay is a great example of that. Jay McClellan's is a great example of that. A guy who just knows that world versus the guy just sitting around going, well, I think that this guy's going to be awesome or this woman's good. No one's going to stop her. You know, and you're like, no, wrong. And then, or you're absolutely right. You know, it just depends. But a lot of times people end up being right about politics for the wrong reasons, right? They end up saying, well, you can't win. And then you're like, but they don't understand the million things that happen that go into how that all works out. So we try to give you as much information as we can, and we'll keep doing that.
Well, it's funny because I was listening to Ruthless podcast last week, and they were talking about just that the two things that people like to commentate from the couch on, sports.
Yep.
They're experts on coaching, right?
No
Any
question.
sort of professional
They're
sports.
very similar, yes.
And politics.
Agreed.
He said those are the two things that most people who have no idea about either one of those say a lot of things on social media about it.
Right.
Just tweet whatever they want or just have very strong opinions about things and feelings about people or players or coaches or whatever.
No,
so,
it's exactly right.
With absolutely no experience.
And sometimes you're right, and you just have no idea why you were right. So it'd be like me saying, there's no way that Tony Romo should be, starting. There's no way Dak Prescott should be, and I don't have any idea what's going on in the building, and I could end up being right about whatever it is. I just have no idea why. Right, and I end up stumbling onto it. So. It's just kind of interesting to go through that. But you're right. Politics is definitely, everybody's got an opinion on, this is going to work. That isn't going to work. This is what you got to do. And the reality is one thing I always tell people, I've said it a million times on this show too, your success or failure as a candidate likely will come down to something that's completely and totally out of your control. So a lot of people, there's no way you could have ever won. That's not true. You just didn't know what we were looking at. And actually, there were a series of events that occurred and why we didn't. And there are other candidates, very similar things that happen. And there are some candidates just have no chance no matter what. And you can say, oh, they got a great shot. They're going to, no, they don't. You just know it.
And it is weird now that you kind of, once you've been in it, even just me, wasn't a candidate, but I was just part of the campaigns for so long that I feel like I have a really good sense of knowing what people need to be able to win and who's not going to have a real shot. And you never want to say you have no shot, but you can kind of tell this person's not going to have any shot because I know what they're going to be up against only in our state. I mean, I couldn't speak to that in necessarily Arizona or Colorado. You can
sometimes in national politics. For example, when this is a guy we spoke to during the campaign a little bit, Larry Hogan, the governor of Maryland, right? Everybody said, does Larry Hogan have a chance to get the Republican nomination? The answer is absolutely not. Larry Hogan could never have gotten the Republican nomination. Chris Christie could never have gotten the Republican nomination. You have to know who the electorate is and who they're trying to elect. Middle of the road Republicans do not win those races. They just don't. Okay, that's just how it works. All right, and so there's no constituency for that. So there's a lot of people in the middle that don't vote in primaries that tell you, oh yeah, I don't know, they got a real shot. I really like them. Okay, well guess what? You're not voting, and you never do. Hey, independent guy who's going to carry everyone to victory. Those guys don't vote in primaries. Okay, you can get some of them to vote, but you're not going to get enough to make a difference. So that's just one of those things. But anyway,
okay.
So, all right.
Now Joe said, "Love the banter." Well, Joe, you got an earful already, so thank you so much.
Just tell Chrissy to pipe it down. Okay. Sorry.
Thanks, Joe, for writing in. Okay, and then the Atomic Mom. Thank you, the Atomic Mom. Thank you for writing in. This was about my Fairlife.
Yes.
Core Power, my protein drink that I drink almost every single morning. You bashed it. Well, not you, but you brought in an article that bashed it.
Yeah.
Saying it wasn't good for me.
Yes.
But the Atomic Mom wrote in, she said, about your Fairlife Core Power drink, it's not as bad as the article makes it out to be. Commercial dairy farms feed their cows a nutritionally balanced diet made up of various grains, seeds, hulls, cottonseed hulls, and silage. I think that's how you say it.
Silage, yeah.
The corn and soy the cows are fed is not sweet corn that you eat with a meal. It's feed corn that is grown to feed animals. The cows are fed corn and soy silage, which is the whole plant, stalk, leaves, cobs, and soybean. It's amazing that cows can take plant material and the byproducts of agricultural, eat this, and then turn it into milk for us to consume. Carrageenan, which is the thickening agent we talked about, is actually made out of seaweed. It's perfectly safe. I would be wary of any article that says says that it might be safe. What does that exactly mean? And where is the primary source or study that makes this claim?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name. Do you remember where you pulled that article from?
I do not. I'm sorry. But Atomic Mom offering a little solace for the ladies in the room.
Making me feel good about still drinking my atomic. I'm going to call it the Atomic Power Core now. Thanks to the Atomic Mom. So thank you so much for that. Let's jump into this LA madness. Yeah. I mean, it's like the world fell apart over there.
Right. So there's a lot of protesting going on with what's going on with ICE, and they're turning very violent. Okay. And so I want to talk about this, but I want to make a broader point. So I want to start with not actually what is going on, but what is being said about what is going on. So there is a representative from California named Representative Berrigan, and she talked about what is happening with these protests. Now, it's beyond comedy that she is saying this. You're going to hear her say it's nonviolent. And then you're going to see burning vehicles just like in the shot on CNN. So I want you to just listen to her first. And I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 examples of this and why I think it is so damaging and likely to make things worse before they get better. So just listen to this from CNN.
Make sure you're explaining this, because with people that just listen, they don't see, they just hear her, but they don't see the madness that's actually being shown.
Right. We'll get to that in a second. But just even what she says, right? What I care most about, just listen to what she says about this. And for those of you that are watching, there's a burning car in the shot with her. But let's just get to that. Here's what she said.
We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard because he doesn't like the scenes. He doesn't like the scenes of people peacefully protesting.
Okay, here's part of your problem. When your congressional leaders come out and say things that are just demonstrably a lie, you start looking at them going, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Like, how do we trust you? How do we trust anything that's said anymore? And this is what so many people are confused, because our leaders come out and they just flat out say things that are in direct opposition to the truth. So Gavin Newsom issues a variety of different statements. We just grabbed one little quick Twitter blurb from him.
As the federal government conducts chaotic immigration sweeps across the country, the state is deploying additional CHP to maintain safety on Los Angeles highways to keep the peace. It's not their job to assist in federal immigration enforcement. The federal government is sowing chaos so they can have an excuse to escalate. That is not the way any civilized country behaves. Okay,
so Gavin Newsom effectively saying, hey, look, we've got this under control. Never mind the burning cars. Never mind the rocks hitting people as they're driving by. Never mind the stores being overrun and ransacked. Please pay no attention to this.
And by the way, and also locking ICE people into a parking garage, like rioters are cornering them in and attacking them. Never mind any of that. They have it all under control.
That's right. And so now Bernie Sanders, he comes out and he's on CNN on Sunday, and here's what he had to say.
My understanding is that the governor of California, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, did not request the National Guard, but he thinks he has a right to do anything he wants.
He is Trump.
And I would say that to a large degree, the future of this country rests with a small number of Republicans in the House and Senate who know better, who do know what the Constitution is about. And it's high time they stood up for our Constitution and the rule of law. You know,
I would argue, Senator Sanders, that you're exactly 180% wrong in this particular case, or 180 degrees wrong in this particular case, because this is really on our leaders like you, sir, to stand up and realize that we have laws in this country and we have to enforce those laws. And if you go back and look at history, your party's history, going back to what happened in Minneapolis, and you did nothing while you had innocent people being victimized night after night after night. If you have your way, you do nothing. And you just let them do what they want.
Well, they burned a police station down in Minneapolis, and the police were told by that mayor to get themselves out of the building.
Get out of the building and
let them burn down the building.
Governor Walz just let it go on.
Just let it go on.
And now this whole thought of, oh my God, Gavin Newsom says we don't need any help. People of Los Angeles need help. This is ridiculous.
Well, and by the way, her saying at the beginning, that first clip of her saying that President Trump doesn't like the scene of peaceful protests. It's because he's not seeing peaceful protests. He's seeing things on fire and attacks happening. And then you hear Gavin Newsom saying, well, it's the federal government's job to impose this, not ours. Okay, so is it not then his job Trump's job to say, okay, I'm going to send in the National Guard because things are escalating.
I'm not going to watch what happened in Minneapolis.
I'm not going to watch happen into Minneapolis. So I think he's exactly doing what he's supposed to do. And else I'm misunderstanding.
No, I think you're right. And then Eunice Hernandez, who is with the LA City Council.
Yeah, LA City Council. She's really here just to tone it down, everybody. She's going to tone it down, or she's just going to freaking throw gasoline on this thing and light it up.
Here we go.
They know how quickly we mobilize. That's why they're changing tactics. Because community defense works and our resistance has slowed them down before. And if they're escalating their tactics, then so are we.
Yes.
When they show up, we got to show up even stronger.
Okay, she is basically advocating for violence. Okay.
And rioting.
And this is giving a permission structure to people to come out and to criminally take over a city. So you can't let this happen. I mean, this is absolutely horrendous what we're watching. And what is it like? Well, here's CBP officers in a truck trying to drive down the street in LA, and what you hear hitting the truck are bricks and rocks.
This is the peaceful protesters, by the way. I just want to remind people.
That's the police force in this country now just getting rocks thrown at them because you have them trying to enforce immigration law. And then our leaders saying, we're going to give you permission for as much violence as possible. We're not going to stand up and say, enough of the violence. Cut the garbage. We don't do that in this country, right? Instead of doing that, instead of standing up for what has to be stood up for, what we now see is the continued escalation because we have feckless, gutless leaders who let this happen in the first place. And then as we keep going, now they continue to fan the flames. This is what it looks like when everything is political. That's what it looks like. You have one side versus the other. It doesn't matter what your side does. You advocate for it. Why? Because they're your side. And when it's a zero-sum game and you don't care, it's a joke. And to me, you look at this and it's horrendous to watch it play out.
Right. Let's look at a little bit more clips before I say some more thoughts, because I have definite thoughts on this. But I just want to show you this one clip. Here's just, I mean, this is just unbelievable at night. Just more rioting happening here.
I mean, so as you look at this, I mean, you see waving flags of Palestinian flags, Mexican flags, and then attacking our police officers and our National Guardsmen who are now coming in to start to calm things down again.
And this is Wall Street Journal that put this video together.
Yeah. And then let's go to clip 10 and you'll see some more of what you were talking about with some of the rocks being thrown at these guys as well. I mean, it's wild to watch and to sit here and think, I mean, just watch these guys go after cars and they're just going to start chucking things at people. Now, some of them are, going with their shields and trying to stay back, but a lot of them are masked, and then here they come throwing the rocks right there. Now, we showed you the video when they were inside that truck.
Right.
We showed you the video from inside that truck. Now you see them just chucking all these rocks. You cannot do this. When you go this and allowed your whole country to just be torn apart, and it is absolutely mayhem.
Yeah, and show 11 too. Show clip 11 here. I found this one earlier today. This gives like a real. They're trying to find these people. Because look at this. This is like just in the median. Just chucking huge rocks
at normal people driving by.
Yeah, and everybody. It doesn't matter if they're ICE. It doesn't matter if they're in there to try to help. If they're police officers. If they're ICE, or if they're just drivers driving by. You've got people down the street throwing the big rocks at cars. You got these guys in the median with a motorcycle helmet on his head, just chucking big rocks.
It's
like a third world country is what it looks like, honestly. It doesn't look like streets that are under control.
Yeah, and by the way, Dan Bongino saw this video. They're trying to find the guy there that is standing in the road taking huge rocks and throwing them at random people.
Right. He just said, He's the FBI director, and he's saying they need the public to help identify the man throwing the rocks at the vehicles in Los Angeles where federal agents are conducting raids. We are currently seeking information regarding the identity of the person throwing rocks at vehicles conducting critical law enforcement operations. One of the perpetrators in this video is wearing a helmet, and we're going to use our investigation tools to locate the individual.
Right. That's the one of that guy at the helmet's one we saw. So, and then Greg Gutfeld had this to say when he was he just tweeted, which is a fair point.
Trying to find a country to establish a sanctuary city where I can burn while waving my native country's flag, while violently demanding they don't send me back to the native country of the flag I am waving. Is there a country I can terrorize, then demand sympathy when they want me to leave?
Yeah. I mean, it's ludicrous to watch.
Yeah, it is. It's unbelievable. And it's unbelievable that you have Governor Newsom sitting there in California saying everything's under control. I've got this all under control. I'm wondering if Tim Walz is thinking maybe I should give him a call and just say,
no,
listen,
he's not, because they don't understand it.
Like
they don't.
They're going to burn your city to the ground is what's going to happen.
Well, no,
and
think about this too. I'm sorry. Every country on the planet has immigration law that they enforce. And if you get to a country now and we live in a country now where it's like, no, you're not allowed to enforce that anymore. You've lost your country. Like, you can't do that. You don't get to answer with violence and say, guess what? We're going to destroy you if you try to enforce the laws. If that is where we're going, then we don't have laws anymore. Then it's going to be like, well, I'm afraid to enforce the law, so we're not going to. And then you have chaos. Then you've wrecked your country. All right. So that's why leaders on both sides should be coming together on this and saying, enough of the violence. If you get violent, you're gone, and get them out. Get them all out. If you're going to be violent, or if you're an American citizen getting violent, you're going to jail. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Which is why now President Trump was not waiting for Newsom, and he went ahead and brought in 2,000 National Guard members. Here's some video of that happening.
Yeah. They're in now. And so we'll see what ends up happening here over the next couple of days, and does this start to calm down? But I will tell you, I think as you look at this, just from a political sense, and if you're looking at this, we got a poll out from CBS News that came out today. Okay. And if you think Trump is underwater on immigration, he's not. He's not. So before any of this, before all the violence, before people flying Mexican flags and throwing rocks at American vehicles, right? Before that, he was at 54-46, up 8 points on his immigration policy. And should you deport people here illegally? Okay. And by the way, those visuals that you're seeing right there are not going to work in Gavin Newsom's favor.
No.
Or anyone's favor who is for this. It's not going to work. Okay, so you have a major problem here. And so I just think as you continue to move forward, I think where Trump is on this is his ground where he feels like he is on very solid ground.
Well, I just think, a lot of us are just over and sick, just tired of the rioting that happened with the BLM riots. Right. And you saw what happened to Portland. You saw what happened to Seattle. You see what happens to San Francisco. You see what happens to these cities that get completely out of control. Minneapolis, where things just go and escalate like crazy and all the looting starts. And it just became chaos for a solid, 2 years, really? I mean, realistically, it was about 2 years of just complete and utter chaos. And a lot of those cities are still trashed or still trying to rebuild their communities. So I'm excited that Trump is saying, no, not happening. Like, I think he's learned a lot based on what's happened in just recent history in our country. And I think that is good that he's learning things that are new. If Gavin Newsom hasn't learned anything from the mess that Tim Walz created in Minneapolis.
No, he's learned politics is what he's learned. This is politics now. This is, my base will be upset if I come out and say, what are you doing?
Oh, my gosh.
They are beholden to a sliver of their own party. I guarantee you most Democrats are like, what is this?
Well,
we can't have this. And yet they're beholden to this tiny sliver that is like, no, you shouldn't enforce any immigration law whatsoever. Open up the borders. Let them do whatever they want. I mean, that's a terrible place to be. You will continue to get destroyed in elections if you continue to follow this path. That's the ironic thing, is the more political you are, the less chance you have to win a political race.
Well, I sent a meme to a friend of mine today, and it was Gavin Newsom just taking selfies and videoing himself. And in the background, it's just like chaos, and it was like things on fire, and the guy with the flags and everything. And it was like, how do you govern a state of California during chaos? And it's just him like talking about himself and how great he is and all this. And I'm like,
believe me, the AI memes are hilarious because of what you can do with them now. But it's sad too.
Yeah,
I mean, at the same time, you watch it and go, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? So we'll see what happens with this. I think what you're seeing though is if you think Trump is going to back down on this, no, and nor should he. Most Americans realize you cannot operate. We cannot continue to be a country. And by the way, if we stop this down, we will have done it just in time because eventually you see some certain countries in the world, especially in Europe, they can't stop this.
They can't stop it. And they're being overrun and it is dangerous. It's hurting their tourism. It's hurting their economies. It's hurting their livelihood, their schools, their hospitals. It is crazy. So if you don't get under control.
Especially when the stuff gets violent and then they have nothing, there's no way they can stop it.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that a civilized society, a society that is truly gives everybody a chance, especially in a country like this where we've provided more opportunity and we will continue to, but you can't do it this way. I mean, it's out of control. And then you get back to the issue. I mean, all this whole immigration issue continues to blow up with the Maryland man.
Yeah, Maryland man. Who's the moron from Maryland that went down there that
Chris
represented?
Van Hollen.
He's you know what he's doing right now? He's so excited because they're going to bring back Abrego Garcia.
Yeah.
They're going to bring this guy back from the prison.
Yes.
Because now they're going to charge him on human trafficking.
Okay,
and all
so here's the thing. So this is what's funny. So this was amazing. And so I found this article, and it was by Jonathan Turley, who's an attorney who looks at all this stuff. He's a real smart guy. But what made it so funny is, and Alan Dershowitz talked about this same thing, where they were both like, yeah, had his lawyers not turned him into the Maryland man who was just swept up and sent away, had they handled this more tactically and said, wait, you can't send him here, but you can send him to these other places because they had every right to deport him. He's an MS-13 gang member. He's been accused by his wife credibly of beating her multiple times. Okay, He's a bad guy. Sorry, but he is. Okay, but as his attorneys not turned him into the Maryland man, likely this never would have happened. He's now going to end up back here, likely to be convicted. Even if he's not convicted, by the way, he's gone. He's never going to live in freedom in America again. Okay, because they're going to ship him off to another country. However, he's more likely to end up in jail. But just listen to what Turley says about how this all went down in clip 17.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So if Abrego Garcia had been removed, little attention would have likely been drawn to his prior conduct. Indeed, as all the Democratic politicians, such as Senator Chris Van Hollen, arrived in El Salvador with an army of reporters, one has to wonder if Abrego Garcia was having second thoughts about his challenge. While news organizations like NPR described Abrego Garcia as a family man living quietly in Maryland, the facts proved far more damning. He was repeatedly accused of beating his wife. The court record also included allegations of his involvement in a notorious gang. Per the Prince George's County Police Gang Unit, Abrego Garcia was validated as a member of the MS-13 gang. Subject was identified as a member of the MS-13.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, this information was provided and tested on a source who had provided truthful and accurate information in the past. So they know what they've got here. They jump behind a guy who's an MS-13 member, and this guy's like, yeah. And then they're like, okay, let's bring him back. He's been human trafficking.
For 2 years. It was 2 years that they think it's something like 100 transportations of illegal people. And they believe human trafficking, sex trafficking, all this kind of stuff. So now I'm just like, okay, I can't wait to watch Chris Van Hollen get excited about this guy's trial. I'm sure he's going to show up and be like a character witness for this guy now, right?
We do it. Yeah, it's a very good point.
Because they've had margaritas together down in El Salvador. So he should come up.
No, it's true. And I think the funny thing is about this, I mean, and we say it all the time on this show, it's like, why would you do this? You haven't, as a party, as a particular politician, why would you continually jump on this side of something that is so clearly against the best interest of the country and even against your own interest in winning an election?
Well, because it's anti-Trump, right? Trump started this, and they think, okay, well, we're not handling immigration right. And here's this guy that they thought they could somehow wrap their arms around and make him a family man. And
police reports.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you should slow down before you pack your bags and use taxpayer-funded money to go down to El Salvador and make a cocktail with this guy and make him all these promises of bringing him home. I mean, I'm just saying, guy stepped in it. He's absolutely stepped in it. I hope his voters remember this. I really do, because it's just ridiculous. Okay, speaking of stepping in it, I was just like thumbing through Twitter. I think we were trying to watch a show or something.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like a little war between Riley Gaines and Simone Biles. Like, I was shocked at what happens. This is the tweet that Simone Biles put out against Riley Gaines. It says, "You're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in all sports. But instead, you bully them. One thing for sure is no one in sports is safe around you." And then here's Riley Gaines' response to that, which I completely backed Riley Gaines on this. It said, "This is actually so disappointing. It's not my job or the job of any woman to figure out how to include men in our spaces. You can uplift men stealing championships in women's sports with your platform. Men don't belong in women's sports, and I say that with my full chest." We didn't even clip the things that people said to Simone Biles.
She got ripped.
She got landed on. I mean, just thrown grenades at, because it was like, how dare you? Like, what? You've never competed against a man in gymnastics or your sport. Like, you have no idea what this is even like.
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
It's crazy that you jumped into this. Like, why are you speaking about this? So Sage Steele, she says,
she was on ESPN for a long time. She now has a podcast.
Okay, so it says, "Easy to say this at Simone Biles when you only had to compete against fellow women. Every one of your Olympic medals came competing against fellow women. Riley Gaines was not only forced to compete against a man, but forced to share a locker room with that man. That is sick. Shocked and disappointed that you'd attack another woman who has done nothing but uplift other women. If you think it makes sense to create a league for trans people, go for it. Use that huge platform of yours, but to attack Riley for what she has done for little girls who want to be the next Simone Biles is sick."
Yeah, it's an unbelievably weird take, because, by the way, Simone Biles had a different take in 2017. She's like, thankful that men don't compete in my sport. And actually they can't really. Men could not compete in the same events that Simone Biles does. Just the way they are, like, Simone Biles would be better at them, actually. But her sport.
So that's why there is no men trying to compete.
Right. They couldn't, right?
Because they couldn't win.
They could not. They couldn't win. Absolutely.
So why
could not
do
win.
that?
And by the way,
they're also not competing in like ballet competitions either.
But they are competing in boxing. So the guy in boxing who won this last Olympics had his Olympic medal stripped because he was a male. Like, they found it out and they stripped it. And so this is just such an odd choice for her to walk in and go this route. It's one thing to say, look, I think we need to try to be inclusive and to make a point about inclusivity. But if you're making a point about inclusivity by saying someone's a sore loser because a dude took him out, I mean, give me a break. It's just it's so weird.
It's a weird thing. And plus, Riley Gaines, for the record, Riley Gaines didn't lose. She tied, but she had to give away the medal to the guy. Like, the guy got the
plenty
trophy.
of women lost to him.
Well,
I mean, he won
course.
a national championship.
Of course. She just was the voice that said, hey, listen, this is crazy town that we're in this. I'm in this pool with a 6'4" guy whose reach is crazy and is not not a woman. So why am I competing against him? So anyway.
It is, I don't understand this is a little bit, this harkens back a little bit to some of what you saw with some of the soccer players and stuff like that who never had to compete against men. And even the U.S. women's soccer team who took on like a juniors team got destroyed. And even what you're seeing, what was it in Minnesota this past week? They had one pitcher on a girls softball team who mowed everybody down and they won the state title.
Right.
Because one male pitcher came in there and said, I'm transgender, look out. And then they win.
Yeah, it was like 14 innings or something.
It was beyond that. It was 2 more games after that, right?
Geez, yeah, it was
so
crazy.
And so that sort of thing. It's just again another one of these issues, which is, and again, I don't think you're seeing as much of a political divide on this particular Simone Biles deal. I don't know, but and I don't know what her thought process is on that. But it just makes zero sense for her to walk in and say it this way. We're like, sore loser. Yeah, should be okay with the dudes coming in. I mean, who are you?
It's also like 2 years. Riley Gaines been out there campaigning for 2 years. She's one of our first guests on this show. We started our show over 2 years ago.
Right.
She's been at this for over 2.5 years. So I don't know why Simone is coming in right now.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. Okay. A couple more stories. Els, you want to get on the mic here? We do have some changes coming up on how we travel.
Oh, yeah.
I saw this in the Wall Street Journal. Pretty fascinating. A lot of times you don't know what's coming up with cars, because you see what comes out, the new model year or whatever, but they're working 6-7 model years down the road.
Right.
They're working on all different sorts of stuff. So
it just seems weird to me. Like, why not just jump ahead to the year 7? Like, why do you need to make car 3, year 4,
well, because a lot of it
6?
takes time to, like, they're researching stuff and they're testing stuff. They do this all the time in Colorado. you'll be driving around and there'll be a car covered in almost like a blanket. It's a black blanket. And it's because it's a
tester car.
It's a tester car. They're testing them out. And sometimes, to your point, they never go with it. Right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, why wouldn't you jump ahead 7 years? Well, okay, but
I'm just saying, if they're working on those models, well, I would just jump
no.
to the chase.
But some of the stuff they do, it's a car you never see.
Right.
Because it just never happens. Now, the reason they do it in Colorado is the high elevation, right? So you go up some of these passes, like, over Hoosier Pass or the Eisenhower Tunnel. It's, 10,000 feet or whatever it is, right? And so they do that. So, Els, here's the article. And it says the cars of the future will transform the great American road trip. So here's what's interesting. Here's some of the details on what they talk about. What's going to be in cars maybe within the next 10 years or so?
Well, it starts with a revamped navigation system. They'll plan your ideal route, make hotel reservations, and even teach you about the surrounding geography. Car interiors could transform into a mobile movie theater, and live flat massaging seats will activate during endless highway stretches. As self-driving cars become more of a possibility, companies are exploring vehicles that break design convention with forward-facing seats, steering wheels, or dashboards.
Without forward-facing seats.
Without them.
Yeah.
Sorry, without them. Allowing for enhanced in-car travel experiences. We're looking at hands-on experiences that offer the best of both worlds, where you can have the ultimate luxury of being chauffeured and still have that visceral experience of travel and all the information you want and need, says Bryant Nesbitt, head of global design at Cadillac. Now, Cadillac says they're already dipping their toes into experiential designs.
Yep.
Nesbitt and his team recently debuted a trio of concepts: a tapered two-person grand tour with bed-like seats and a shared curved screen for long weekends away, a boxy six-person recreational vehicle for exploring nature and socializing with friends, and a single-person vertical takeoff and landing vehicle for accessing hard-to-reach locales.
Look at this.
So
there they are. I mean,
and Ella wanted to point out these are AI.
Well, obviously,
Which we knew.
I'm just saying. Well, there are things in the past that you guys have not known are AI.
Yeah, it's a good
like
point.
one time,
One
Dad
time.
pulled up a polar bear
one
video.
polar bear. I got fooled by one polar
It was
bear.
so funny. You were
early
like,
in
I
the-
can't believe these fishermen befriended these polar bears, and I was like, Dad,
You're never gonna outlive
I know.
AI.
That was embarrassing.
girl-
Oh my
gonna
gosh,
never-
that was so funny. So what I'm trying to say is
Yes.
I don't see this happening.
No,
You
well, so
don't.
here's one of the issues.
Why?
Ella.
Why doesn't she?
Well,
think
hold on.
it's
Let me
gonna
give you
happen?
the issue, and then
Okay,
you
go
can
ahead.
tell me if
Yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
why. One thing they're concerned with is safety, is that if you turn these things into beds, basically rolling beds, and they get into an accident, you're in real trouble.
Yeah.
Like you're just not, you're
You're
not stuck
dead.
in. So the question is, what do you do with safety as well as mixed in with the new, issues on the road? Now, if the car itself is being self-driven, then you're probably looking at fewer accidents, most likely. But that is one thing they're concerned
So
about.
is it completely self-driving with no steering wheel on it? Is that what they're saying?
No, I think you're going to always have the ability to override. I can't imagine you. Well, I shouldn't say that. At least at the beginning of this whole thing, I think you'll have the ability to override.
Okay, here's the thing. This sounds good when you're watching the Jetsons and the cars are all flying around and they get you to where you go and you don't have to really do anything. The reality for a type A personality like myself,
Oh God, you grab the wheel yourself.
there's no way I'm getting into it. There's no way that not only am I not going to get into a self-driving car, I'm certainly not going to lay down and go to sleep.
No, you know what I think the car. You know what you're
I'll
going to
take
do.
the train
You know what you're
before
going
I
to
do
do.
that.
No. Here's how this is going to go. The poor self-driving car. You're going to start questioning the self-driving car. You're going to be like, listen, are you sure you should be doing this?
Yeah.
You're driving a little fast for
Yes.
me. This is not the route I would take self-driving car. And eventually the self-driving car is like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Self-driving car is going to stop, pull over to the side, and it's going to be like, I'm done with you, lady. And enough of you just questioning how I drive.
As it should be, because I just have zero business being in a self-driving car because I can't give that kind of control up. There's zero
I
chance.
think that these cars are unbelievably unrealistic, and
Okay.
I think they're going to be super expensive. That's my thought process.
Well, once you get the tech, well, yes, I think you're probably right for now. But I would say that down the road, this stuff does become cheaper. Like, a lot of this technology will eventually become cheaper.
like
It
how
will.
Teslas were super expensive at the beginning.
Right, yeah. And I think some of the wear parts, like for example, Teslas are a good example. A lot of the wear parts that you have with a normal gas vehicle you don't have them with a battery operated or an EV. Okay, you don't have hot engines running. There is no engine. Right, you don't have all these issues. You have regenerative braking. You don't have as many of those issues. You don't have all sorts of different engine parts to wear. They don't occur. So there is some real benefit to EVs, and I think down the road, I think it's going to be a real benefit. But for now, it's still a bit dicey, especially on range.
Are you going to lay down and fall asleep in a car that you're supposed like it's just driving itself?
I think like anything. Yeah, I think eventually you would.
No, I'm asking you.
Would you?
Yes.
I can't even
That's
sleep on a
insane.
plane.
I almost do it now.
I can't sleep on a plane.
That's insane that you're willing to like.
Yeah, no way.
You're sitting in the driver's seat and
no
you
way.
lay back and fall
If
asleep.
everybody else is in a...
If everybody else is in, that's the Jetsons. That's what I'm saying.
that's
If
not
you
even
are
going to be
this-
in my lifetime.
If this isn't like a course,
You don't think so?
I don't think in
No
my
way. This
lifetime
is
every
so-
single person's going to be driving a
Oh,
self-driving
I do.
car. I don't want
no
that.
way. And I'm telling you, that's why it works in the Jetsons, right? Because
Maybe you won't have your own cars.
maybe in
You just pull up, a unit will just pull up in
That's
front
the
of your
Jetsons.
house.
Or-
Like, in other words, you won't own the car.
I don't want
it'll
that.
just be you'll order the car up, right? To wherever you
So
want
if
to
there's
go.
an apocalypse, what's happening?
No, it's like Minority Report.
Well,
Remember
that's
Minority
good.
Report
Yeah,
with Tom,
yeah,
Tom
Tom
Cruise?
Cruise, yeah.
Like the cars, I feel like they just showed up and then he would hop in
Yeah.
and he just drove you someplace.
That's right.
Or it flew. Yeah, when they are all doing
and you'll pay
that,
by the use. You just won't have a car sitting there all the time.
So it's like an Uber all the time.
yes, but it would
Yeah,
be
a
it'd be-
self-driving Uber.
Yes, and then you'd order different levels. Like you're like, hey, I want the big sleeper car because I'm going to Denver.
Yeah.
And you get in
And I
there,
wanna
and it
sleep in
takes
that
you,
car.
and you're done. You will absolutely fall asleep. My gosh,
Okay.
you'll be out before you leave the neighborhood.
This would be like, okay, well, to me, then that's mass transportation. That's different. That's like if I'm going to get
It's
on a
not
train.
mass, it's an individual unit.
I
It is
get
an
it.
individual
I
unit.
understand, but the premise of what you're talking about is that everybody would be in a similar type of transportation.
Well, no,
so
not-
if you're in the similar type of transportation, then sure, then I'm not as scared of like if I have a semi coming at me and there's an ice storm and I'm dead asleep in the car and the car doesn't react well to the ice and I get taken out by a semi.
Agreed. No,
Then
the
you're
ice
dead.
thing is different. The ice thing is different. But I would say you're not in the same cars because I think you will order each time whatever it is you're looking for.
Okay, Jetsons.
I'm
Do
just
you
telling
think
you,
that
I-
eventually everybody will be able to afford that though? Because I don't.
I think it's going to be a
that's-
use-based. I think it will be use-based. In other words, it's not about buying. We have 4 cars sitting in our driveway right now. We don't need 4 cars most of the time in our driveway. You know what I mean? We always need 2, and sometimes you need 3,
You
and
better
sometimes
talk to
you
your
need 4.
daughters about
But you know what I'm
taking away
saying?
their
But you know what I'm
cars.
saying?
Just take
The vast
Anna's.
majority of the time, your car sits there doing nothing. Okay, so the point will be, Ella, you're like, I'm going to the gym. Boom, do, and you walk outside, and it's there. And it all of a sudden you get into it. It takes you to the gym. You do your thing, and then you time to leave. Go back to wherever you go. I'm just saying that's what it's likely to look like.
I figured it out. You've traveled through the wormhole. You've traveled to the future, and you already know this is coming. And so now you're excited
here's
about
how
it.
I know. Here's how I know. Bigfoot is
Told
driving
you.
most of those units.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
So-
as long as Bigfoot's behind the wheel,
I'm just telling you that-
I will totally take a nap.
But do you understand? Like, you see what I'm saying, though? Like, you're still going to pay for a car. And by the way, if you want a really nice one, there'll be a really nice one that pulls up. So, rich guy, whoever he is, right? You pull up, and rich guy's like, I'm hopping in the Porsche version of whatever this unit is, and we're going. And
Yeah,
for the
but all
rest
these
of us,
celebrities who have so many cars, they're not going to want to give up their 6 cars for like an Uber type of deal.
look, I'm not saying it's going to happen quickly, but I am saying eventually what you'll do is there'll be a use tax of some sort that'll basically pull these cars off the road, and eventually you're just going to have.
Okay, hey George,
This
George
is,
Jetson.
we sound crazy.
All right,
You-
I'm sorry,
Dad
things
sounds
went off the
crazy.
rails. I'm
Yeah,
sorry
Dad,
about that. All right.
Dad went to George
All right.
Jetson land for a minute in
All
his
right,
wormhole.
sorry.
Okay,
Go ahead. Let's go this
Let's
one.
talk about something more realistic that's happening actually right now.
Okay.
Which is turbulence at our airports. And everybody knows how much I do not like to fly if you've listened to the show for 5 seconds. I am scared of turbulence. Yes, I am. I'm one of those people. Well, now there's just been a report by weather.com that's breaking down the top 5 most turbulent airports in the U.S. I'm shocked that Albuquerque did not make this list.
Yeah.
My guess is just that it's too small of an airport.
No, Aspen's smaller.
Oh yeah,
Honolulu's
Aspen is smaller.
Yeah.
Okay,
no.
here we go. Denver, number 1. Not shocking.
No,
because
Denver's rough.
when you go into Denver, it is scary coming and going.
Yep.
And you want a double whammy? Fly from Denver to Albuquerque, and you can get it on both ends of the stick.
true.
It's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, Salt Lake City coming in at number 2.
Yeah,
Las
no.
Vegas 3, which that is so scary. That heat. If you landed, I've had a terrible
Yep.
flight there. Aspen,
Yep.
scary airport to fly into. I've done that. And Honolulu, which I've never flown. Oh yeah, we have. We just landed in Honolulu not very long ago.
Yeah, Honolulu because of the
gotta be the breezes and all that, right?
Put the list back up. So, Els, a couple of things that are interesting. Air behaves like water does, right? So, in other words, when the air tumbles over the Rockies, right, and toward Denver, it's like a wave, and it's like if you've ever been, in the ocean and you get hit hard by a wave. That's sort of what happens with some of that air turbulence over Denver. It comes rolling off the Rockies, comes into Denver and buries them. Also, Salt Lake, similar, right? So you have the Wasatch Front there. Mountains are a huge concern. Las Vegas is the heat, exactly what you said. Rising heat in the afternoon buffets a plane. I mean, that rising air comes up and slams the bottom of a plane. And so that's why Las Vegas is bad. Aspen is the same thing. The turbulent air with the mountains, it ends up knocking planes around. And by the way, most planes that fly into Aspen end up being a little smaller plane as well. So those get bounced around. And then Honolulu is the rising air from the heat of the day and the storms that form and those showers that form around Honolulu. They can bounce you around too. So Albuquerque, same. Albuquerque would be actually a cross between Las Vegas and Salt Lake, because you have the mountains there. So we definitely have the turbulence off the mountains. And then we also get the heat buffeting the bottom of the plane when it goes to land.
My biggest piece of advice, which I think people already know this, is you fly early. Just get out of
That's
town.
absolutely true.
Get out of here at like a 5 a.m. or a 6 a.m. flight.
Yep.
That's your best odds.
No, especially in the summer.
Yeah,
Absolutely
the problem
true.
is when you try to get home, you can't get home at 5 a.m.
No.
So then you're coming home and you're just like white knuckling those seats and
Yeah,
doing all your
it's tough.
prayers and
No, no,
everything,
no,
which is
you're
what I
right.
do. But
No,
anyway,
it's-
okay, last little bit that you've put in here, little fun. Is this AI or is this real?
No, this is real. This is real. So this is a Thai grocery store, and look who comes in for a visit. I mean, look at this guy.
Wow.
I mean, he can barely
Why would
fit
he
in.
even get in there? It's a big old elephant,
How
you
did
guys,
he
for those of
fit
you that are
in
just
the door?
listening.
So it's sort of a garage door sort of thing that they open. So it's wide, but he's too tall, so he's sort of wedged in there.
Yeah, he's stuck. He's like Winnie the Pooh when he ate too much honey.
Yeah,
Now he can't get back out.
Yeah,
of the
he's like,
store.
how long do I have to wait? Now, what he does, watch what he does here, though. He's like, yeah, I'm really sorry about this. I'm going to go ahead and just back this thing out. But just shows you how smart they are.
Oh,
Look
so
at him just
smart.
drop down. He's like, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Let me get out of here. And he
Yeah.
just kind of works his way out. And you can see they're not getting too close to him because, an elephant can give you the business
Well,
quick.
yeah, he could charge him, but
Yeah, and he backs out and he's like, all right, I'm gone.
Oh my gosh, that's
And then
so
he
funny.
walks away.
I bet he didn't even do any damage, really, because he was just kind of. Oh, you think?
I think the roof.
He's thousands of pounds. What do you think he did to that floor when he walked into that? What do you think that floor
I
is
don't
like?
know.
You think that floor underneath him right now is like, yeah, no problem. I got it. It's a couple 2x4s spanned with a 2x6 or two. He's
he might have
crushing
left
that
a
thing.
little footprint there. That will be a little. People will come in and take their picture, saying this is where the elephants.
He's beautiful though. He's
very
they're
cool.
impressive
Yeah,
animals.
that's an impressive situation.
it absolutely
Thailand things. Whenever you watch any of the videos of the grocery stores in Thailand,
Yeah.
you get alligators, you get elephants, monkeys. I've seen monkeys coming out of the ceilings.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever shop if I was in Thailand.
Look, yeah, he tore up the floor. You can see him just kind of.
Okay, all right. Well, it could. He did knock any walls down.
No. He was pretty.
Ceiling is still
he's-
intact?
Yes, sort of. Yeah, he's as gentle as he could have possibly
He's
been.
fine. He's
Yeah,
good.
that's
He's
good
good.
stuff.
I like the elephant. I'm on team elephant.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
I'm a team elephant person. Of
course you are.
Of course I am, sir.
Well
okay.
known.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any comments or suggestions or tips or anything that you want us to talk about, go onto our website at no info.
No info.
No doubt about it. Podcast.com. And fill in. You can drop us an email through that website. Thanks so much, you guys, for joining us. We appreciate you. You have a great rest of your week.
You've been listening to the No Doubt About It podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at No Doubt About It Podcast.
No doubt about it.
The No Doubt About It podcast is a Choose Adventure Media production. See you next time on No Doubt About It.
There is no doubt about it.